on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Your biggest investment is your home. Protect it while also improving its appearance with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. We have sand, mulch, gravel, or lay down decorative stone, all available for pickup and delivery. Discover your dream landscape with Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Imagine the moment you proudly pull up to your home that you've worked so hard for, enhanced by quality mulch, decorative stones, and more. Let's make it happen today. Request a quote online at earthworkspc.com or swing by the office at 2005 Industrial Drive. Love the land you live on.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they serve delicious gastropub style food? Check out the break room's daily $12 lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf and mashed potatoes, chicken pot pie, hamburger steak with gravy and more. All specials come with side and dessert. The Break Room, Joan Avenue in North Lagoon and Panama City Beach. Dine in or call the Break Room now. 850-588-8310. 850-588-8310.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Go home to the NFL. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready? Okay, let's begin.
Trip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talkhouse.
Unleash the Dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now in the doghouse on a beautiful Monday afternoon. What is going on? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 here in Panama City and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and Bone Crusher with us on the ones and twos. Hope all y'all had a wonderful weekend. Everyone was safe out there, and we're getting ready. We're getting a lot closer to college football, Brian. 31 days, I believe I heard Ryan say today.
Let's go.
Goodness gracious. Thursday, matter of fact, I got to get to work tomorrow morning during the Inside Drive. Thursday, we're going to have the Hall of Fame game. The Browns and the Jets. We're going to have that right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Thankfully, the Braves are off, so we're going to be able to fit that in just for the sake of nostalgia, in a sense, or getting you amped up, getting you hyped for the football season. So Westwood One's going to have that coverage, and we'll have it playing through your speakers. I believe coverage, like I said, I just saw this today, so I believe coverage is going to be starting around 6 o'clock, though, right after the Afternoon Underdogs Thursday afternoon, which should be a great time. I'll have Jay Chapman for the second half of that hour with me on Thursday afternoon. Make sure you're tuned in for that. That should be a great one. We've got the trade deadline upon us. That's going to be tomorrow at, I believe, 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern. So at some point in time, if Sam Peebles is not teaching a class, then I'm going to have him jump on with us tomorrow. Of course, we'll have Tyler Bishop, so we're going to get back to our Big 12 preview, get some record predictions in for those schools. We got to save the best for last in the SEC. There's been some murmurs out there of possibly Oregon, Washington, FSU, and Clemson going to the Big Ten. I don't know if there's anything to make that a reality at this point in time. It's just rumors to this point. But of course, we're going to have our good friend from the rebelwalk.com, the senior writer for the rebelwalk.com. Steve Barnes joined us at the top of hour 2. We have had 2 guesses to this point already for our blast at Bay Point. Earthworks sold how many bags of mulch Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon? Your next opportunity to play high-low with us will be at 5:40 this afternoon. If you get the number, if you're caller number 10, when you hear the cue to call and you get on the line, you get the number correctly, you and a guest win 18 holes at the legendary Bay Point Golf Club in beautiful Panama City Beach. If you don't, you're still going to get a large bag of range balls there at Bay Point's driving range, Bay Point Golf Club's driving range. All right, let's see. What are we going to dive into? RJ Starcevic joins us in the next segment. We're going to be talking some NASCAR. Fantasy football registration is up, and I've only got 10 spots left. And I just talked to Coach Hale, and he's down. He said he doesn't know if he's going to be able to make the draft, but he's going to entrust me with drafting his team for him. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all, but he is going to give me some suggestions. So we're going to have Coach James Hale playing a little fantasy football this year.
I was going to say, it'd be one of those things where we would organize together to tank his draft and somehow he'd win.
Yeah, right. Somehow he would win. It's going to be interesting, though, because then, if he does win his league this year, he's going to be in the big boys league, the Champions League, which this year is still at 12 teams, but next year, by the addition of this new league that we're adding, it's going to be a 16-team league, for fantasy football. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you'd like to play fantasy football with ESPN Northwest Florida, text your name and your email to 850-215-6290. Now, I do believe that the draft is still going to be out there, Dave & Buster's, August 26th at 11 a.m. We will know if anything does change. I will find that out this week, and we will figure out what we're going to be doing moving forward. But as of now, you have to be there for the live draft. That's the whole point of the live draft. I'll give one exception, and that's to a guy who hosts his own show right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, and Coach Hale. So Bo Crusher's back there. No, actually, no.
Are you going to start doing a social media for him, too?
I got to do my own social media before I can start doing social media for someone else. I'm not good at that part.
Don't call it an opt-out or anything like that. Call it the senior discount.
The senior discount. There you go. So if you'd like to play fantasy football, 850-215-6290. Shoot your name and your email. The Braves got a sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers over the weekend, scoring a lot of runs. Bullpen was, strong enough to stay on top there in that 3-game sweep. And now the Angels are in town, and for the businessman special, as Jay Henley puts it, Wednesday, Shohei Ohtani looks to be on the mound there in Atlanta. But first pitch tonight's at 6:20, coverage starting right after the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to have a chance for you to win some great stuff here when we play trivia today at 4:40, so make sure you got your phones ready to go. Did you hear anything? I know you were busy over the weekend with some swimming stuff, right? But did you hear anything last week about Sean Payton coming out and his comments towards not just Nathaniel Hackett, but the Jets in general?
I didn't. To be perfectly honest, normally I don't get caught up in the gossip and the who said what about who and that stuff. But no, last week I was pretty tied up, so I missed it. What goes on as the days of our lives continue.
Yeah, exactly, and that's pretty much what it is. He basically kind of stuck up for his quarterback in Russell Wilson and just said, everything from the GM, which is still the current GM over there. The coaching job was just horrific. It was terrible. He stood up for Russell Wilson having the quarterback coaches and his own office, and that's a way for him to watch film. And then he also, kind of gave a little room for when you're playing bad and people see that, that's going to be a storyline moving forward. The Jets play the Broncos in Denver week 5, so he comes out and he's talking mad trash about the Jets and everything. He since has walked these comments back, but it is interesting that, a coach is sitting there basically giving the media some material there, and then also giving the Jets bulletin board material. And then, so you mean to tell me that Russell Wilson is, his storyline he has, when they're not playing good football, that's, it becomes a storyline. Well, what's going to happen if the Broncos aren't playing good football here in 2023? It's a direct correlation, if you ask me. And as a coach, I think you should, and part of his walking back his comments was, I had my Fox hat on still.
Yeah, there's probably something to that because you do have to speak a little bit differently. Now, there's a couple different issues in play here. Number one, I think, unfortunately, in today's day and age, you kind of have to do what he did with Russell Wilson, whether he believes it or not, because you're really, if you're an NFL head coach, you're really not coaching in the sense that many of us think you are. What you're doing is you're managing talent and ego. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking professional now, and we're talking guys who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And what you're doing is just trying to create the right environment for their talent to shine. You're not, do this or you have to run, 20 stadiums and stuff. That's college, high school. That's that. So
outside of the Titans right now, well, they've got a little. If they get into a scuffle with their own players or whatever, they have to go work out in the sand pit.
Well, but they should, because you shouldn't be fighting each other. Say that. But my point is, it's not the day and age where it's like, I'm going to take all of your toys away, go out and earn them. It's not really at the professional level anymore. Whether we like it or not, it's not. So him saying, hey, I'm supportive of him having this, whatever, that's fine. I don't mind that. I'm not a big believer in bulletin board material in general. I've never understood, especially at the professional ranks. If you need another coach saying something about you to spur you on to win, you're not a true professional. So I get it. I know it can be used because we hear it all the time, and we hear, I heard Georgia players last year going, nobody believed in us. What are you talking about?
We were supposed to go 5-7.
So I get it that people use that as motivation. Right. I don't see why professionals need that. So I've never gotten that into that. I would rather have the coaches stir it up just to make talk radio and these shows more interesting. It's more fun when they're doing that stuff.
And that's what I'm appreciative of, is him doing that. However, my take on it is, like, I feel like as a coach, and there was even some analysts on ESPN saying, I think it was Eric Mangini saying, Sean Payton kind of broke the coach's code, a la what people were saying about Nick Saban last year with the Jimbo Fisher
That's
comments.
My next point.
Right.
That's the next part of it. Now, as a coach, and it's part of the profession and fraternity, if you will, and look, there's a lot of coaches don't like each other, but you don't really call out another coach in the media. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just don't do that. If you want to, behind closed doors, go at it over stuff, and you can think someone's useless and all like that, but you don't really denigrate the profession in the media, unless someone is doing something outwardly to. Look, if you don't end up being very successful, that's one thing. If you're going out and acting a clown and bringing disrepute to the profession, that's another thing. I don't think Hackett did that. I just don't think he was very successful.
Yeah. I mean, well, it was year one for him. It was, I think that they were more worried about the perception of the product that they put out rather than the actual product. And people want to point to, and it's it's extremely fine for them to point to the terrible time management. But at the end of the day, this wasn't Russell Wilson's first, second, third, or fourth year in the league at that point.
Correct. But Russell Wilson only had one head coach, I believe.
Yeah, true. That's a great point. Yeah.
But my point is, so I don't know that Sean Payton believes all that about Hackett. I think he probably, more than anything, was trying to say, look, this wasn't Russ's fault, because he's trying to have Russ in a positive frame of mind. What he should have done is just said, look, things obviously did not work out very well last year. That's how you say that.
Yeah.
You don't say Hackett can't coach, whatever, or anything like that. So I think he probably phrased it slightly differently. And yes, if he was a Fox analyst, he probably would use it by name. But even a lot of those coaches won't call out other coaches specifically, even when they're in the booth.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing. It's kind of a thing. So, yeah, that's the mistake he really made, is that. The stuff about bulletin board material. I mean, is it smart for him to provide them that? No, probably not. But is that stuff, I think people in the media and fans view that as more important than to me, the players really do.
Right. Well, I brought all of this up, kind of rehashed all of this just for Rodgers' latest comments where he channeled his inner Will
Speaking
Smith.
of the days of our lives.
He said, keep my coach's name out of his mouth. He said, I thought it was way out of line, inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's name out of his mouth. Also, kind of before that, it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in this league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for the team, for that team this year. He told that to Pete Schrager for Fox Sports. So.
I think he's actually right.
Wow. How often do we say that, right?
Other than I hate the phrase, keep my name out your mouth. I just, it's dumb.
I really wanted to
but no, he's
have
right.
the hotkeys for Bone Crusher to play when I said that.
What Rodgers is saying is a much more hip and cool way of saying what we just did.
Yeah.
Is you don't call out another coach by name. You just don't.
Yeah.
And so Rodgers has his coaches back as he should, and quite frankly has the professionalism back as he should. So, yeah, I'm fine with what Rodgers said here. I don't say that very often.
Right.
But no, I think that's a thing. If you're Sean Payton, you open the can of worms, and that's it. And I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure he probably realizes right away, I probably shouldn't have called him out by name. That's it.
We're taking your calls or text 850-215-6290. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. And if you'd like to take us with you wherever you go, you could just go to your Apple App Store or your Google Play Store, type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, and you'll have that app. We've got Mosley football games Mosley football broadcast just around the corner. The first one is going to be against Rutherford. I believe that is August 25th. August 24th or the 25th, though. Double check that
just
right.
Just around the corner.
Just around the corner. I think I'm going to do something a little different this year as well. And I think that they kind of do this on the Coach James Hale Show. Now, our time slot that we're in, we can't get coaches live on with us due to them practicing from 4 to 6 normally. Yeah. But we're going to try to focus, on Mondays, just coming back from the weekend and everything. I'm going to try to focus on Mosley football. Obviously, all the headlines and all of that good stuff. But on Tuesday, focus on Bay. On Wednesday, focus on Arnold and Rutherford, and on Thursday, North Bay Haven and Bozeman, and then on Friday, kind of get everything squared away and ready for that week of football. Even though we being here in Panama City, we get a lot of Thursday and Friday. I was going to say,
may have to make some adjustments occasionally on Thursday.
That's what I'm good at, right? Well, that's what we're good at here on the Afternoon Underdogs. Exactly, trying to be on the fly. But speaking of those Denver Broncos, today, Tim Patrick got injured and is feared to have injured his Achilles. That's according to Sean Payton. He missed the entire season last year with his right knee, tearing that ACL. So this is not great. I didn't see if this was which leg this was on, but man, it would really stink if you got an issue with your ACL and your knee, and then also on that same very leg, the Achilles, which that's a tough ligament to tear.
Well, it's time consuming coming back from it, because it's one of those things that needs rest, and there's not a whole lot you can really do on your feet that doesn't involve the Achilles. It's when I was coaching something as not contact as swimming, ankle injuries were always the worst.
Really?
Because you're constantly on it. And
were those the most common?
No. Okay. No, probably shoulders and things like that. But, and the kid who runs into the wall. But, but no, probably shoulders and things like that, because you're also talking about growth in there. I was dealing with developing kids. So ankles were bad specifically with kids because it's impossible to keep them completely off their feet. Kids are on the move. You can get them on those little, one-leg scooter things and all like that, but you still are planting your foot for just different things. So the rest required, anything having to do with your foot, ankle, Achilles, things like that, is always just tough because it requires rest, it requires time, and people want to be mobile.
Yeah.
So it'll be tough, but as far as I know, generally speaking, unless you're talking about repetitive injuries, and look, Dr. Mitchell would know this way better than I would. Unless you're talking about repetitive injuries, I don't think it's something that's necessarily debilitating.
Right.
So to like where it would only come back at 85% or whatever like that. I think you make a full recovery and you can do things the same. Psychologically, if it's the same leg, does that affect you a little bit?
I think it's got to some until you hit that, until that light bulb comes on, okay, I'm getting back to normal, or I'm at 100%, or even better than what I was before.
Right.
But I think it takes that pushing yourself to the level that you were at.
I've heard athletes talk about the fact, like when they have knee injuries, especially running backs, they'll talk about this as they sense like a hit coming, they'll actually shift their body.
Yeah.
Instinctively to take the brunt away from that leg, even though the leg is 100%, because it's mental. I've heard wrestlers talk about when they have back injuries, they're afraid to take a flat back bump anymore on their back. And even though they're fine and it's still the safest way to take a fall,
right,
it's in their mind. So psychologically, you don't know how you're going to deal with that stuff until you do.
I mean, it's like even when you're cooking or whatever and you get a fresh cut on your hand or something like that, and then you, like, everything that you're grabbing from then on out, you're not grabbing with the full force.
Yeah.
Do swimmers at the youth level, high school level, do they watch the professional swimmers or the Olympian swimmers and stuff like that the same way that, like, a high school baseball player is more than likely watching Major League Baseball? Like, do they have their guys or gals that they're rooting for and keeping up with it, or is it a little different?
It's probably different in the fact that we don't have, like, teams to root for until the Olympics.
You just got the individuals.
And then at the Olympics, it's all the American guys.
Right.
I mean, there might be a few people who, just because they happen to be really good maybe in the event or the stroke that child is really good in.
Right.
Like your people who do breaststroke events will probably be a little more into the breaststroke swimmers.
Got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But I think if there was like a pro league where you had like the Dodgers and the Angels and the A's and whatever of swimming.
Yeah,
maybe there might be some
cool,
of that.
though.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, college swimming's probably the closest thing to that.
Right.
But even so, there's not the same kind of hero effect because it's not really on TV very often.
Yeah, right.
I would say swimmers probably look at the higher level swimmers more from a technical perspective. Like, whereas baseball players probably aren't necessarily studying Shohei Ohtani's swing or, Justin Verlander's throwing motion per se. Swimmers might be.
Yeah.
In a lot of respects, they are. They're watching Caleb Dressel and how he goes off the blocks, or they're watching Michael Phelps's, breathing patterns, or Katie Ledecky's angle of entry, or things like that. It's a little more of a technical sport anyway. So they probably are, for lack of a better term, breaking down film more than they're watching it as a spectator.
Because like a baseball player is going to be intrigued by a batting stance, not because of the technical side of it. Maybe sometimes, but I think a lot of times
the
it would be
style of it.
Right. And that looks cool. Let me implement that. Not like, the angle entry or angle of entry of how she did that there is something that I could take my swimming to the next level with. And so, but I would say that maybe it would be different for the pitchers, though. Like high school baseball pitchers and stuff like that, maybe with the leg kick and whatnot. But then again, I could also see it being the same as batters or players looking at batters' batting stances and, that looks cool. And so, this windup, I love that Hideo Nomo style of look back and all that good stuff.
So that's where I'll go you to the next step, which is, as a coach, sometimes it's a nightmare that they're watching because, like, obviously, like you said, with Nomo with this, that, or the other, everybody tries that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily work for them. I'll give you an example. Michael Phelps, greatest swimmer ever lived. He would breathe every single stroke in his butterfly. Now, for him, he was so technically sound, could get his hips into a position, whatever. He was able to do that. It was good for his oxygen intake, whatever. The average swimmer, even higher than average, but the lay swimmer, if you will, if they do that, they put their hips in a lower position, which is going to put more strain, more stress on their shoulder. They're going to cave in early or whatever. They're not going to be able to finish. So we teach, don't breathe every single stroke. Breathe one, don't breathe one, whatever, like that. The kids will watch Michael Phelps breathe every stroke, and they go, well, Phelps breathes every stroke. To it, as a coach, I would say, when you go as fast as he does, you can breathe every stroke. But the point is that it's a really overly technical answer to give an 8-year-old who says Michael Phelps breathes every stroke, why can't I? So that's when I resort to the, if you go this time, I'll let you.
There you go.
So, there you go. But it can be tough. I mean, quite frankly, there are some professional athletes in every sport, swimming is not immune, that don't necessarily do things very technically well.
Right.
They're just really talented.
Swimming, golf's another one. We've got to get to a break, but this is a fun
Who in the world
combo.
would do Jim Furyk's swing?
Exactly. And maybe we'll find some time to get back to that because that's a lot of fun. It's the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next, we're going to go around the track with RJ Starcevic. Talk a little NASCAR. Left turn, left turn, left turn, y'all.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents The Blast at Bay Point. Listen to Win Your Tee Time at the legendary Bay Point Golf Club in beautiful Panama City Beach.
You ready to play some high-low? I'm going to try.
Listen weekdays at 8:40, 12:40, and 5:40 to play high-low for a chance to win 18 holes at Bay Point Golf Club.
I tell you what, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to love it.
Listen to Win the Blast at Bay Point from ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a gentle breeze out of the west-southwest, a chance of thunderstorms, and mostly sunshine and 91. Mostly clear skies tonight, about the same at 82. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high of 92. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. They take pride in caring for their customers' property by providing lawn and whole house pest control. Whether you have roaches or any other unwanted bugs in your home, Turf Pro has you covered. Or if your lawn needs weed control, fertilize, insect control, Turf Pro has you covered by providing custom treatments to meet your property's needs. No property is the same, so why should it be treated that way? Turf Pro, where the blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Call 850-890-5820.
Time to let the big dogs eat.
How about that answer by Georgia? To the end zone, touchdown, Georgia!
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. It's ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad. Now we're going to go around the track with RJ Starcevic, who's host and creator of the NASCAR Report on Instagram. How's it going, RJ?
Going good, going good. How are you guys up there in Panama City?
Man, beautiful weather this afternoon, just after a beautiful race yesterday afternoon, it was wild because I went out and cut the grass like probably around lap 160 or so and got back inside just for the finish. And right after I got out of the shower, the rain just started coming down. I was like, oh, perfect timing. I love that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the rain's starting to come down a little bit here in Tampa. It's getting a little bit darker, a little bit cloudy. Y'all sent the weather down here, but that's okay. Need a little bit of rain here and there. But, yeah, the race yesterday, pretty solid. It was definitely a race that no natural cautions until 10 to go. You know, we have our stage cautions, our scheduled yellows. But until 10 laps to go, it was an all-clean race, just some strategy here and there, some solid racing throughout the pack. The track was changing just a little bit throughout the race. And then we get that caution, 10 to go. It all looks like Chris Buescher's going to coast away with the victory. He's got a big lead. And then all of a sudden the caution comes on. Now everything changes. Now you have that. I believe it was a 5 to go restart when they took the green. Chris Buescher still ended up hanging on, but it just adds that extra set of adrenaline. That it's like, you know, the people in the 17 camp were like, man, we really didn't need this. You know, we could have just won without, you know, the extra worry, without the extra caution there. But no, they still got the job done. Denny Hamlin had a shot, was trying to get the outside to work, overcooked it into turn 1 with 2 to go, and just couldn't get there. Still wound up with a second-place finish for him after his win last week. But Chris Buescher, he was already locked in the playoffs. He was already like 160 points above the cut line. But I think this definitely is just a huge statement win for them, huge statement win for RFK. a great race for them because when Chris Buescher wasn't leading that last stage, it was Brad Keselowski that was leading. So an amazing race for that team. Big statement win going into the playoffs. Now about Chris Buescher, now his first year with back-to-back wins in the Cup Series.
Yeah, that's huge, especially like you mentioned there for RFK. And so that makes him the 12th winner of the year to this point. With 4 races left, could you see 4 different winners?
I don't think I see it. Anything's possible. We've seen crazier things happen, I guess. Last year we had like 17 winners during the season. But anything's definitely possible. But I think we'll see some recurring winners here these last 4 races. Michigan provided the new winner last year, provided Kevin Harvick as the victor, ending his winless streak that he had going on for him last year. We go to 2 road courses, which are definitely very wild card. And we go to Daytona, which is very wild card. So, now that I think about it, maybe it's not so crazy to say that we could have 4 new winners. But I think going into this weekend at Michigan, something I was just thinking about, I think it's going to be a strong Toyota race. I think it's going to be a race where we don't see a new winner. But Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, Daytona, definitely 3 tracks where I feel like we could see new winners. You never know. We could see another Shane Van Gisbergen win that wouldn't affect the playoffs, but it would be somebody that could have won that didn't win because they were ultimately defeated by SVG. So we'll see. But I think nonetheless it's going to be a pretty wild last 4 races here into the playoffs.
How many races do you have, how many races minimum do you have to race in to get into a playoff spot if you win a race? Would you like to see a world where Shane Van Gisbergen got the opportunity to race in the playoffs, or is that a little diluted in a sense because he's only ran in 1 race anyways?
Yeah, I think a world where he got in the playoffs and ran 1 race would definitely be great. There would be a lot of angry people there, in and out of the sport. But I know, because obviously Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman haven't ran all the races this year, but they got waivers due to injury. You've seen people in the past get waivers. I know when Matt Kenseth came along after the first 4 races of 2020, he got a waiver to compete for the playoffs. Ryan Newman after his injury. So if you don't compete in all the races, you have to get a waiver of some sort that says, you were totally unable to compete in that race besides the fact that you just didn't get a ride. So having Shane Van Gisbergen in the playoffs this year would be wild. But, hey, next year it seems like all his intentions are to be a full-time NASCAR Cup Series driver. He says, the reports have been he's got orders on the table, offers on the table, I should say. And maybe we see him get that win next year at Chicago Street Course if that returns next year, at any road course. We'll see how he does on the ovals, and maybe a good old SVG will get himself a playoff spot next year.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with RJ Starcevic. He is the host of the NASCAR Report, which you can find on Instagram. What'd you think of that burnout there from the 17 car?
Yeah, good old burnout from Chris Buescher. It seems like you get those really good burnouts from guys that obviously, they cherish. Everybody cherishes every victory, but, when they know it hasn't come often or doesn't come often, you don't know when your next one will be. Those guys are going to cherish it very well, and obviously RFK has been a very prideful organization since they came on the scene with Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher has been their guy. When Brad Keselowski finally calls it quits and is all said and done, he, wants Chris Buescher to be the flagship driver for that team. And so I believe he is going to be that guy. He's an Xfinity Series champion back in 2016 with the organization, so there's no reason to say why Chris Buescher won't stick with that team, and that team won't improve because it's been a struggling year for Ford. It's been a struggle for Stewart-Haas Racing. Penske hasn't been where they probably want to be altogether. So RFK to come in here, and they've had 2 consistent cars all year long. Like I said, they were both 120-plus points over the playoff cut line coming into that race. Now one of them's got a win. Keselowski's been on the verge of, possibly getting a victory these last few weeks. He's going to be in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens with both of these drivers. I think the team has a lot of momentum. The burnout was fun to watch, and especially when Brad Keselowski finally gets in victory lane for his team, that's going to be a celebration worth watching.
Watching the race with your focus kind of on Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, how did that go? Did you see Kyle Larson race Denny Hamlin any differently?
Yeah, it was weird because, we talked about last week about how these guys race up at the front every race, and they're going to the rest of the year. They're racing together up at the front every race, top 5, top 10, whatever it is. But this week they weren't. Denny Hamlin qualified really well. Kyle Larson did not, and Kyle Larson just did not have the speed in that 5 car this weekend to contend up towards the front while Denny Hamlin was. So the only time that they did run into each other was when Kyle Larson was unlapping himself on fresher tires and kind of gave him a little nudge up the racetrack, probably just sending a little bit of a message there, but not doing anything blatant, being a lap car on the track. But we didn't see it this week with Larson and Hamlin racing each other, but we definitely will the rest of the season. Maybe not at the 2 road courses coming up, maybe not at Daytona. This weekend, we'll see, what happens. We know restarts can be chaotic at Michigan. I would expect Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin both to be up in the top 10 this weekend. You never know. But I think this is going to be something that's really going to boil down in the playoffs. These last 4 races can be pretty wild card. People are going to be focused on some different things. But I think as we get to the playoffs where things really matter, where if these guys go head-to-head fighting for a win, where maybe a win means one person's in the playoffs and one person's not, I think they're going to race each other a lot differently. Obviously, Denny Hamlin hasn't had any remorse throughout the week, saying that, hey, I didn't touch him. This was all good. Kyle Larson didn't appreciate that, him kind of doubling down and tripling down on it throughout the week. So, I don't know. Tempers are just going to keep flaring more and more every single week, and we'll see what happens.
All right, so with that race, who hurt their playoff chances yesterday at Richmond?
I would say as far as hurt, I would say a guy like A.J. Allmendinger, which, people were questioning going into the week. He ran the Xfinity Series race, didn't practice or qualify for Cup, and then ran the Cup race. I know that he probably knew that himself and colleague maybe weren't going to be as strong, but people definitely questioned it as far as okay, should he have put his time into practicing qualifying that car, being so close on that cut line. So I don't think they really helped their situation. I think Michael McDowell, where the past few weeks we've been saying he's really been helping a situation, didn't have the race they wanted at Richmond. Unfortunately, had some penalties, had some issues on pit road that kept putting them back. While they still had a fast car, they still had a top 15 car, I would say. But unfortunately, the race just did not work out in their favor. Alex Bowman did not have a strong race whatsoever. He was battling Kyle Larson to stay on the lead lap at the end of that second stage. And so definitely not the race that they wanted. So I'd say Alex Bowman probably hurt his chances a little bit at Richmond, where we were talking last week, a track that Bowman's won at, but really strong at, and just didn't see the speed that maybe people that we were expecting. Now going into the last 4 races, Michigan, we know they're not super strong there. 2 road courses and Daytona. It seems like it's red alert time for that 48 team, I would say.
And on the flip side of that, who helped their playoff chances?
I would actually say Chase Elliott, to be honest. I would say Chase Elliott and Ty Gibbs. I think Ty Gibbs, week in, week out, I think I've had him on the flip side each week, besides New Hampshire when he just got in a late race incident. Very consistent, very fast. Ty Gibbs is doing everything he needs to do to ensure that he can have a playoff spot come playoff time. I think as long as he keeps it up, is strong on the road courses, I think he has a really good shot to get himself in the playoffs. I think Bubba Wallace had a great race at Richmond, was leading, running top 3 majority of the race with his teammate Tyler Reddick. I think Bubba Wallace had a great race and definitely helped himself. Got a lot of stage points, so I think that really helped his points battle. And I'd say Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I think, did pretty well. Had a very consistent race, had a good qualifying effort, which we haven't seen too much out of them this year. And they really, set it off right off the bat of showing that they had a pretty strong car during that race and is closing that gap. And where we come to Michigan, 2 road courses, Daytona, I know that they want to win. I still think that they need a win because you don't want to be in a points battle going into Daytona, but they're making it a lot easier for themselves if they have 3 straight top 4 finishes here, which I think is very possible. They could put themselves way above the cut line to where Daytona won't be as such a burden. But it could be flipped, either way. We'll see if they have that road course speed when we go to Indy and Watkins Glen. But I think Chase Elliott, I think they definitely, instead of the last few weeks where I felt like they have been hurting their playoff chances, not progressing as much as they wanted to, I think they definitely helped it this weekend at Richmond.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're chatting with RJ Starcevic. He is the host and the creator of the NASCAR Report, which you can find on Instagram. Give us a recap of the Xfinity race, RJ.
Yeah, the Xfinity race at Road America was pretty good. I mean, they just fresh repaved that track for the IndyCar race this year. A lot of high speeds we saw, a lot of slipping and sliding. I think was a great race. I really got to catch the end of it for that overtime restart, which was chaotic, crazy. Justin Allgaier had been very strong all race. A.J. Allmendinger had been right up there as well. And Allgaier and Sage Karam, who was right behind him. Honestly, heartbreak. I love Sage Karam as a guy that raced for Alpha Prime Racing before, raced for Tommy Joe. Sage Karam's a great guy. Was really hoping he could pull that out. Probably the best equipment he's been in his entire NASCAR career. And he took the lead, and the track was just super slick. So the previous caution had, been somebody was leaking oil over the racetrack. They had to clean it up. But obviously the track wasn't as fresh as it could have been. So it was like the first person to hit that new track was sliding everywhere. So it seemed like the leader was in the worst position on that second to last lap. Everybody sliding off, making contact. And all of a sudden, Sam Mayer, who, if you would have told me that he would have gotten his first win on a road course, I would have thought you were crazy, because Sam Mayer has definitely been strongest on the ovals. Hasn't been a strong road racing guy. While he's maybe been up there in the conversation for good finishes, definitely has not come close to a win on a road course, his entire career. So he sneaks up there, gets by Sage Karam, holds on, gets his first career Xfinity Series victory. And while he was already going to be in the playoffs, kind of like Chris Buescher was, I think it's just another statement victory. I mean, Sam Mayer's had a lot of close calls, whether it's been on a super speedway or an oval, where he's had speed, just hasn't been able to finish it off. Sam Mayer, who is one of Hendrick's top prospects, while their entire team is young, he's one of Chevrolet's top prospects, I would say, in the Xfinity Series. Great to kind of get himself started, finally get that first Xfinity Series victory, and be in the conversation now as we approach the playoffs to make something happen.
I know me and you Friday afternoon were talking a little bit about the CW network acquiring the Xfinity Series, which isn't going to start till 2025. So we can table that conversation for next Monday. Maybe we'll lead off with that after the recap and dive into it, because I know that's your bread and butter. What you love to do is covering the Xfinity Series, and always want to give you the opportunity to talk about that great series there. But since we're up against the break here, let's get into our top four for the Xfinity and the Cup Series. Are both series going to be in Michigan?
Yes, sir. I believe so. Let me double check, because the Xfinity Series just be like maybe everywhere sometimes. Yeah, Xfinity Series at Michigan, August 5th on the big NBC network. So we love to see that. The Xfinity Series at high speed, they always put on a good show at Michigan. Just wanted to double check that. But yeah, let's dive into our four here. I'm gonna start off with Josh Berry. He's won at Michigan before. I think he needs momentum. He needs that win this year. JRM got some momentum now, because if it wasn't Sam Mayer, it was Justin Allgaier getting that victory at Road America. And so they had a really strong race. I think Josh Berry will be someone to watch this weekend. I think you got to roll with John Hunter Nemechek. I think he's someone you always got to throw into that for. He was also pretty strong at Road America as well. I think he's going to have a strong race at Michigan. That team has shown a lot of speed. I'm going to throw in kind of a wild card here. I'm going to throw in Brandon Jones. I think if Junior Motorsports has speed, I think Brandon Jones has the capability to have speed as well. He's been a guy that's been able to win these wild card races. He's going to need a win to get in the playoffs, which is surprising to say out of the Junior Motorsports 9 car, which has been a championship car for the last 5 years. But they've just struggled this year, but they just need something to spark. And I feel like they could possibly get it this weekend. And then the last guy I'll throw in there, somebody like Chandler Smith. I think Chandler Smith, very fast colleague, has still been very consistently fast over the years. In the Xfinity Series, I think he could get it done this weekend. And then we move to the Cup Series. I think it's going to be a 23-11 race. I think I'm going to throw two guys already in here to fill out my four. It's going to be Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. I think they've been very fast at these faster tracks as well, coming off a really fast Richmond race where they dominated the first half of the race. So I think Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace into my four. I'd say we're going to go, maybe RFK continues that momentum. Michigan native Brad Keselowski, we'll throw him into my four there. And then I'll round it out with the Chevrolet. Let's say Kyle Larson picks the speed back up after a rough Richmond weekend, finds some speed there at Michigan, a track he's been good at, won at in the past. I think Kyle Larson will definitely be in the conversation again this weekend.
Always great stuff, RJ. We appreciate that so much, man. You have a great day, and we'll catch up with you next Monday.
You too. Sounds good. Catching up with you next Monday. Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir. Enjoy Michigan. All right, that was RJ Starcevic. We just went around the track with him, and you can go check out his NASCAR report. That's on Instagram. Coming up next, we're going to get some traffic jam and trivia, but now a little NASCAR Today.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
That ball is going to be out of here.
America's team plays here.
Bombs away.
The Atlanta Braves are back and making statements.
Ronald Acuna just clobbered one to left.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Goldberg Kia, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Stormore Portable Buildings, and Brock Pest Control.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Monday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a gentle breeze out of the west-southwest, a chance of thunderstorms, and mostly sunshine and 91. Mostly clear skies tonight, about the same at 82. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and a high of 92. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
Hi folks, I'm Tracy at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Santa called and he asked me to help everyone get ready for Christmas and avoid the stress and rush. So we've stocked the store and slashed the prices. All diamond jewelry 30 to 50% off this month. All diamond rings, pendants, earrings, bracelets, and necklaces. And we are offering free 6 months layaway. Tracy's Fine Jewelry takes the stress out of the holidays. So shop now where Santa shops during our Christmas and July sale at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
CW to air Xfinity Series. I'm Susie Armstrong. The story next on NASCAR Today.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Don't miss your chance to race for $1 million. Introducing the NASCAR Powerball Playoff. Enter now and you can win a VIP trip for two to NASCAR Championship Weekend at Phoenix Raceway and a chance to win the $1 million grand prize. The only way to enter is through your local lottery. And you can chase the Powerball jackpot anytime with drawings every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Powerball, the official lottery game of NASCAR and home to the NASCAR Powerball Playoff.
NASCAR announced a broadcast partnership for the Xfinity Series with the CW Network and Nexstar from 2025 through 2031, where the CW will broadcast 33 live events annually on free over-the-air television. For NASCAR Senior VP of Media and Productions Brian Herbst, the CW Nexstar partnership brings powerful promotional assets to the table.
The CW available in 125 million homes, and then you also get the benefit of working with Nexstar, which is the largest TV station group in the United States. So on-site activation, local marketing, local coverage, ticketing, contesting, the full kind of event experience and local experience we think will only be benefited by having Nexstar as our partner.
I'm Susie Armstrong. This is NASCAR Today on the Motor Racing Network.
From the pros to the future pros, we're your home team station for home team sports. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. Wow. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Appreciate RJ Starcevic giving us the NASCAR update right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. He's actually going to be representing us down there at Daytona in August. He gets credentialed anyways through his NASCAR report. Sure. But he's, we're going to put him in some ESPN gear and see if we can get him to get some interviews with the drivers for us. Cool. Yeah, really cool. It was awesome last year. Like I had this year, February, when we were there in Daytona for the opening of this season for NASCAR. And I had terrible service inside of DIS, and just luckily, and we had talked prior about, we've never met in person, so we wanted to meet each other in person and everything. And right after the national anthem, we're standing around with all the rich people, the owners and all that stuff, watching Shane Battier walk across and all that good stuff. Next thing you know, hey David, I'm like, who just said my name in a crowd like this?
Shane Battier.
Yeah, right. And it's RJ. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome, man. So, yeah, that was really cool. I did get to fist bump Larry Fitzgerald.
There you go.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. And ate lunch right next to Coach Norvell. So
nice. That
was pretty cool, though. Let's play a little traffic jamming trivia. In 2022, what running back led the NFL in yards per attempt? In 2022, which is last year, which running back led the NFL in yards per attempt? The break room brings you your Braves update. Monday is Meatloaf Day. Tomorrow is a quesadilla. Wednesday, spaghetti and meatballs. Thursday is chicken pot pie. And Friday is hamburger steak. All specials are only $12, and they come with your course, your side, your drink, and a dessert. And got to run into Chef Ross this afternoon, and we'll be getting ready for that Pop's Pig Pickin' Barbecue. This is going to be the second annual in honor of his dad, Pops Ronald Robinson. That's going to be at the break room September 10th. So we'll be feeding you guys some information to that shortly, and then you'll show up and Chef Ross will be feeding you some barbecue. Should be a great time. Cannot wait for it. All right, so your Atlanta Braves did sweep the Brewers, and they're going to be hosting the Angels now for a 3-game set. You got today and tomorrow's game at 6:20, and then an 11:20 first pitch, I believe, could be 12:20 first pitch Thursday or Wednesday afternoon, where Shohei Ohtani is going to be on the mound. A.J. Smith-Shawver was brought back up from AAA Gwinnett to start the game against the Brewers. He posted a 4.32 through his first 3 MLB starts. I believe he's now been optioned down, and A.J. Minter has been optioned up. And Max Fried threw 79 pitches, pitched deep into the fifth inning. He allowed 2 runs, 5 hits in what should be his final rehab start for AAA Gwinnett. He could be activated to start Friday's game against the Cubs there at Wrigley, which would be huge. And what a great place to kind of come back, though, against the Chicago Cubs there at Wrigley. Also with the trade, Ryan Mulvey was talking about this earlier today, I believe, or no. I know he was talking about A.J. Minter, but I don't know if he got into the trade of the Braves bringing in Nicky Lopez from the Royals.
Very briefly.
Yeah, and the Braves gave up Taylor Hearn, which they got for cash consideration. So, no matter what you think about this trade, the Braves absolutely want it because they bring in now another backup utility-style infielder. Goes greatly along with Charlie Culberson. Charlie Culberson, who is a beloved Atlanta Brave, and you remember the whole story of Father's Day. His dad was supposed to throw out the first pitch, and it ended up being Michael Harris's dad because I believe they DFA'd Charlie Culberson.
They need to cover at catcher.
Right, and so he is with the Braves, and he's only had 1 at-bat to this point in the year, though. So having a guy like Nicky Lopez and Charlie Culberson, as we get deeper, I mean, the Braves right now, and I'm not a huge proponent of resting your guys, but with an 11.5-game lead, I wouldn't rest them all at the same time, but get these guys a little bit of rest if that's what manager Brian Snitker thinks that he should be doing. So I like the move there, bringing in Nicky Lopez. A lot of Braves fans out there, why aren't we making any big moves? Why aren't we making any splashes? I mean, last year, right before the trade deadline, Alex Anthopoulos brought in Raciel Iglesias, which was, for what they got him for, it hasn't been the prettiest at times this year, but it's still a top-notch closer. So Double A is going to do what he needs to do for this Braves team, and if it is, I mean, we're loaded as it is. We're playing really good baseball. Yes, I think a lot of us would like to see another starter come in. Yes, I think a lot of us would like to see the bullpen beefed up a little bit. There's even the talks of maybe Justin Verlander. Who knows if Steve Cohen would make a deal inside the division like that between the Mets and the Braves. I mean, Scherzer's a Ranger now, which is man, who would have thought that in year one of this, well, having Justin Verlander and having Max Scherzer, that one or maybe even both of them would be gone at the trade deadline here in year one. I know it would just, I mean, what's worse? What's worse? Last year, leading the division for the majority of the year and then metting it up in the final week of the season, or going into the season where it's like, we're winning the East this year, or maybe the Phillies, but we're going to win the wild card, whatever. It's not going to be the Braves. And now the Braves have, I don't even know what it is over the Mets right now. I know it's 11.5 over the Marlins and the Phillies right now. But I don't know what would be worse as a Mets fan, the way it's going for him this year or how it went for him last year.
I don't know. The thing last year would be painful, but if you're a Mets fan, as sad as it sounds to say, you actually are kind of used to the Mets going to Met, you know? I don't know if this year's that painful. I mean, yeah, you have high hopes, but even the most positive Mets fan knows Verlander's best days are behind him, and you just hope he kind of is that locker room force and, you know, that stabilizing kind of personality that I mean, he's still a great pitcher, don't get me wrong, but you're not bringing him in to be your ace. That would be more of a Scherzer role. So the fact that Scherzer's already left would be bothersome to me. I would understand trying to ship Verlander out first, but whatever, it is what it is. I think what happened last year is more painful to you. It doesn't make this year any better because you should have. But, you know, even newer baseball fans know when you try and buy a team, it's not always going to work.
Right. I mean, I think only one franchise has been able to do it successfully, and that's the Yankees, and it hasn't been successfully over the last 2 decades.
Well, that's it. I mean, when the Yankees really were successful,
it was homegrown.
It was their core four. It really was 5. But, yeah, I mean, that was the group. And they balanced that with journeyman.
Right.
So
we got a call, and I want to get right over to that because I know he wants to talk a little Summer Slam with you real quick here tonight. Griffin Canning, 6-4, going up against Charlie Morton, who's 10-8, and that will be right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Coverage starting at 6. First pitch at 6:20. Kyle, talk a little Summer Slam with Coach Brian Haddad.
Ooh, Brian, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to go real quick. I know we kind of talked before all the big pay-per-views, and you got in my opinion, maybe the biggest one is coming up this weekend with SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you think Jey Uso takes down Roman Reigns? If yes, what next for Roman? If no, what next for the Bloodline?
I actually think it's more possible than a lot of people because this would be the perfect time for Roman to take the big break they've always talked about him doing and then bringing him back on the run-up to WrestleMania. I don't think it's the best story to tell, but it is possible. So if they do go that route, I would be interested to see what the next pivot is. Is it Solo now becomes the head of the table? Does Jey become? Now, is there strife between Jey and Jimmy? I don't know. I don't know where they're going. The more likely case is that Roman somehow wins, but they set up some kind of issue between him and Solo, and then that's the next little mini feud. I'll be honest with you. For the first time, I really kind of feel like I don't know where they're going, and I almost like that. Because I really don't know where they're going from here. So, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think's more likely?
Right, that's what I lost you there for a second, but I get the gist of what you're saying. Like, it's nice to finally not know what's going to happen.
Right. I really can't tell. I would have to say at some level Roman's going to come through, but I just don't know how they're going to play that forward. So you would think that, and this is probably where I lost you, you would think Solo would be the next little mini feud for Roman if he does go through, but I don't know how they play that.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. I wonder if this culminates, you got the big the screenwriters protest going on in Hollywood right now, so there's not a lot of films being made. There's not a lot of production going on in Hollywood. So I wonder if this is your opportunity, if you're ever going to get it, to book Rock versus Roman.
There's been talk of that. Because the other thing about this card is it's interesting. There's not a lot of great stories on this card. There's the potential for some really good one-on-one matches, and there's the potential for some big returns, and they love to do those at SummerSlam the last couple of years specifically. So I have a feeling we may see Randy Orton at this SummerSlam. I think that could be interesting and where that plays in and how. But there's going to be some level of big swerve, I think, just based on the card, because the card is not stacked with big, long-running storylines that need a big payoff.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Well, hey, Brian, I appreciate you answering those questions for me, and whatever happens, I hope that LA Knight's big push finally starts next week.
Oh, you and me both.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle, thanks so much for the call. And I just want to let you know, I had to write down these answers prior to the show for Brian to be able to answer as amazingly as he just did.
Perfect. I appreciate you guys scripting that out for me.
All right. Hey, thanks, later, man. Kyle. Take care, buddy.
All right, fellas. Be good.
Hour 2's just around the corner. We're going to kick it off with Steve Barnes talking a little college football with the senior writer from therebelwalk.com.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's your weather forecast on this Monday evening. As we head into tonight, mostly clear skies and a low of 82 with a calm wind out of the west around 3 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, mostly sunshine and a temp near 90. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hello, this is Rick Vossen with RV of Panama City, your local Stormore portable building dealer, located at 2241 East Baldwin Road. Shopping for a garage, portable building, cabin? We build them anywhere from 8 to 16 foot wide, 10 feet to 60 feet long. We can do insulation, electricity, transom dormers, thermal windows. Come, let's customize a building together. Rick Vossen, Stormore portable building dealer, Panama City.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
And the Braves are back in front.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Young Cycle across from FedEx Mosley Drive in Lynn Haven has a fantastic selection of pre-owned Harleys at great prices. Don't buy a Harley until you stop by Young Cycle. Young Cycle, a full-service department is available too, offering motor trike conversions, parts, and accessories. Nothing compares to Harley-Davidson and the low prices on pre-owned Harleys at Young Cycle. Young Cycle, 112 Mosley Drive across from FedEx in Lynn Haven.
You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. It's hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. It's about 40 minutes away from our next opportunity to play a little high-low for the Blast at Bay Point. When you hear the cue to call, be caller number 10 at 850-215-6290. If you get the number correctly, you and a guest will win 18 holes at the Bay Point Golf Club. If you don't, as a consolation, you will get a large bucket of balls on the driving range there at Bay Point Golf Club. Now on the line with us, it's Steve Barnes. He's a senior writer for therebelwalk.com. Steve, how goes it?
Hey, man, just real quick, got to tell you the segment you did with my boss, Evelyn Van Pelt, you and Amanda, fantastic. It was that was really, really cool. I told you you'd like her. And just to expand on something she said about Kiffin sort of talking down the portal, but taking advantage of it, he got 3 more. Just this weekend, he got a linebacker from Clemson. He's got a defensive back from Miami and a wide receiver from Oklahoma Community College named Marquise Willis. Has a brother you may have heard of. His name's Malik.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely heard of that guy. Time 2, 3, 4, 5. Hoping that he'll be quarterback. Well, we'll just see how the Titans played out. But
I just got a message from Evie. She ran my column today, barnstorming.
Yes.
But later on, probably tonight, there's going to be another one. It's the before and after. It's who Ole Miss plays before, or their opponents play before and after them. And there is a certain co-host on the Afternoon Underdogs who happens to know a lot about Mississippi State because he used to live there.
Yeah.
He's mentioned.
So Brian, you're mentioned in the latest. He actually just had to step out very, very briefly. If you want,
what happens? I run away and they talk about me.
Yeah, exactly. So
Brian, I talk about you all the time. Man. You can't hear it.
But yeah, to answer back to that, it was awesome having Ole Miss Evie on the line with us. I mean, what a blast! And you could just tell, like, you can look at her picture there on the rebelwalk.com, and then the sweetness of the lady just kind of it just translates through the phone, man, and it was awesome. It was great stuff, very informative, and very appreciative of her not only just giving us some of her time, but she also stayed over there in Nashville for an extra evening just to make sure that we could get her while she's in Nashville. So I thought that was very cool, very appreciative of her giving us her time, and it definitely will not be the last time. We've struck out quite the partnership with the rebelwalk.com, and then to your point, barnstorming might be it's one of my favorite articles out there in general, just because it's very close to a one-stop shop for everything you need throughout the week, just to kind of recap and then preview what's going on in the world of the SEC.
Well, what I try to do is touch a little bit of everything because, I mean, not everybody wants to read Ole Miss 24 hours a day, especially, Brian.
Amen.
So, I mean, I try to touch on a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do a phenomenal job of that as well. So last night something came through my phone. FSU, Clemson, Oregon, Washington to the Big Ten. I believe that's just a rumor. Have you heard anything about that? Is there any validity to that?
I have not heard a thing, but I would guess if anybody's going, it's going to be Washington, Oregon. I don't think it's going to be Florida State, Clemson, because I think people have a problem with a conference that has a team on the East Coast and the West Coast. Just because, okay, when, say USC plays Penn State, that's going to be great in football. Mm-hmm. But how's the athletic department going to feel when the Rutgers tennis team has to go to UCLA?
Yeah.
It's got to feel it in the pocket.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not sure the ACC is going to go away. So, I would say Oregon and Washington would be the two I would guess would be heading that way. But if they do, then the Pac-12 is dead. What are they going to do? San Diego State, Fresno State?
I mean, that's basically what they would be left at. I mean, I guess you would have.
And Arizona's looking to leave too.
Arizona's looking to.
Yeah, Arizona has definitely made contact with the Big 12.
Oh wow! So the Big 12 is looking to. Would you say that?
Well, they need somebody else besides Colorado.
That's correct.
Right. They need to balance it out with to get a 14th team. But would you say? The ACC right now is cemented as the third best conference in college football. Looking at it from the perspective of 2024.
Okay, 2024 when Oklahoma and Texas leave the Big 12, yes, the ACC's third.
Yep.
This year, I don't know, but next year, because I think that this year, I'm not sure how good Clemson's going to be. I like Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
I like North Carolina. They got Drake May. I don't think Miami's going to be that great, but they still got some teams. So.
Steve, the irony is I'm sitting here thinking about it, and they're very top-heavy on the ACC right now to the point that I'm not so sure, as crazy as this sounds to say, that there is a real significant difference between them and the Pac-12 at this point. just for this year, like 23. I agree with you on 24. But for 23, you could make the argument that USC, Utah, and Washington, are probably going to be as good a top three as maybe FSU, Clemson, and I don't even know who would be number 3 in the ACC this year.
Well, I think the ACC and the Pac-12 right now, they remind me of the SEC East.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You got Georgia, you got Tennessee, then you got who's going to step up.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this then, Steve. We've talked before about the SEC doesn't really need the footprint of Florida State because they've got Florida. They don't really need the regional footprint of Clemson because they have South Carolina. But the Big Ten goes out. Let's just say that for 2025, they bring in Oregon and they bring in Washington. Does that make it almost imperative for Greg Sankey and the SEC to try to chase down Florida State and Clemson and get them to the SEC? Or does the SEC feel strong enough with just the addition of Oklahoma and Texas where they're at in the college football landscape right now?
Oh, years and years ago, FSU was courted by the SEC.
Right.
But they went to the ACC, and that was just a smart business decision because they did not need to have the football, I guess, enhanced. But the ACC helped their basketball, and it helped a few other things. But I think if the ACC starts to wane, then you're going to see Florida State, Clemson,
Miami,
perhaps North Carolina, Duke.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the real issue for the ACC teams is not that they need to go to the Big Ten, that they need to go to the SEC. They need a better TV deal. They're locked in too long at a bad rate. And so for the ACC, if they could find a way, and ESPN be crazy to do this from a business perspective, other than if the league falls apart, they're left holding the bag. But if they could find a way to renegotiate their deal, the ACC as constructed could survive. So it's kind of weird in the respect that, like I said, they don't need to leave for competitive reasons. They don't need to, and I don't buy FSU and Clemson really wanting to go to the Big Ten. To me, if they want out of the ACC, they want to be in the SEC. Virginia would probably want to go to the Big Ten, possibly North Carolina, somebody like that. But I just think it comes down to the ACC's best hope at salvation, even for their schools, much less their conference. They've got to find a way to renegotiate their media rights deal.
Well, I think the team in the ACC that really, really would love to go to the Big Ten is Virginia Tech. And, if they did that, I think West Virginia would dive in to say, can we please be in the ACC?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true because, I mean, they're kind of a fish out of water in the Big 12 as it is. And so I
love Neil Brown. He coached at Troy, and I've met him many, many, many times. But, I mean, when your closest road trip is a 4.5-hour plane ride, that's kind of messed up.
Absolutely.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with Steve Barnes. He's the senior writer for the RebelWalk.com. Do you like the addition of Colorado in the Big 12 and them going back to the Big 12?
I never thought they belonged in the Pac-12. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the old Big 8 days. And I love seeing Colorado play Nebraska and Oklahoma. I mean, that's where they belong, and I think that's why Arizona's going to go too, because they're going to be a partner with Colorado. They'll be travel partners basically in all the other sports,
right?
And that really helps them both. But I think Deion Sanders would rather be in the Big 12 than the Pac-12.
That makes a lot of sense. Looking here at some of these schedules, and I believe you alluded to this in your barnstorming article that's up now on the RebelWalk.com. Who has the tougher schedule? Is it going to be Florida or Ole Miss here in 2023?
Well, I got to go with Ole Miss. They both play LSU. They both play Georgia. Now, Florida does have to play Florida State. But Ole Miss has to play the SEC West.
Yep.
And I think I would trade Texas A&M and probably Arkansas to play Vanderbilt in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's a great point. And on the flip side of that question, then who has the easier schedule? Is it going to be Michigan and the Wolverines or Georgia?
Well, they both look at these schedules because they're going to be favored each game because they're good. But looking at Michigan, they got Penn State, they got Ohio State, and they don't have them until November. So they've got a cakewalk going. And I'm not sure who would come out of the West to play them in the championship game. I think they've got an easy path to the playoffs. Now, Georgia's got Ole Miss at home. They got to play Auburn and Tennessee. So I think Michigan's got a little bit easier schedule. Now, the easiest schedule to me in the country is Kentucky because they're going to go 5-0 going into the game in Athens because they play Eastern Kentucky, Akron, Ball State, Vanderbilt, and Florida. So they're going to be 5-0. They'll be ranked, if not in the top 10, top 15. So that's going to be your, quote, national SEC game of that week. And I think Georgia will crush them. But I just think that Georgia's got a tougher schedule.
Yeah, I think we can wake out if you look at, total of opponents that could give them a tough game. I agree. I think it's Georgia. I think for a regular season tilt, Michigan having Ohio State is the toughest game of either team. But
don't sleep on Georgia, Tennessee.
Well, now I agree, and quite honestly, I've been saying for weeks, if I'm Georgia, the game that they need to be very careful they don't overlook is the Ole Miss game at home the week before they go to Tennessee.
And that's why you're mentioned in my next story, Brian.
It's true, though. I mean, that Ole Miss is a dangerous team this year. They've just got a brutal schedule. Otherwise, I'd have picked them to win the West based on their lineup this year. But yeah, that is quite the trap game that's there. So Georgia's got to be careful in that one.
Brian, Brian, how do you feel about this question I'm about to ask Steve? Also, in your article, you touched on targeting and how you would like to see that be called next year. Would you like to see more? You mentioned Will Levis in the article. Would you like to see offensive targeting called more?
Oh, absolutely. I was watching the replay on the SEC network of the Ole Miss Kentucky game last year, which was a great game. And the defense for Ole Miss stepped up and stopped them 3 times in the fourth quarter. And one of those, Levis ran the ball to the left, was getting tackled, and A.J. Finley was going to come in to finish it off. And he had his face mask up, going toward the ribs, but then all of a sudden, Levis dropped his head, and it was a helmet-to-helmet thing. Now, the officials did not call that, but the commentator on the network, he harped on it for, 10 minutes. Well, it wasn't going to be helmet-to-helmet until Levis dropped his head. I mean, Brian, you remember Craig Hayward played at Pitt, then played for the New Orleans Saints. His nickname was Ironhead. Why? Because he would drop his head and run it into defensive players.
That's right.
That's targeting.
Yeah.
I saw it called one time last year. Now, I did see another game. It was a Clemson game, I think, on the ACC network. And there was a clear targeting call on a wide receiver downfield blocking behind the runner. They called him for the blindside block. They didn't call him for targeting.
Yeah.
That's kind of a double standard.
No, it's 100%. Look, if the bottom line of this is safety, which I agree with, and I love the face-up initiative that they're teaching young, you need to see what you hit, everything like that's wonderful, because that's where it'll change is in the teaching. But if the bottom line is safety, then it's about the use of the helmet, the crown of the helmet on a hit. And running backs do this all the time. And we absolutely have to get this out of the game. The only thing I can think of is that you see more sensationalism on the big hit when a defensive player does it, and this could very well be a case of if you look at the major injuries that we've seen through the years, they've typically been defensive player in terms of neck injuries.
Look at Chucky Mullins.
Chucky Mullins, Dennis Byrd, guys like that. Yeah, they're defensive players. So maybe that's why, but they absolutely need to call this on both sides of the football if they're truly going to address the safety of the matter.
And bring back the neck roll.
You know, Steve, I mean, we talk about how you and I go old school. I can't remember, it was from the late 80s. I was watching, there was a game being played on like that, and I had so forgotten the monster shoulder pads that like some of the linebackers and all used to wear. I mean, it doesn't even look like the same game anymore with the equipment back then versus today.
Oh, look at some of the Auburn games in the early 80s. Bo Jackson wore these huge shoulder pads. He had 5 pads that they would hit with a hammer just to make sure he couldn't feel it.
Yeah.
Now, DeMarcus Ware's going to the Hall of Fame this weekend. When he was at Troy, he wore basically, quarterback shoulder pads and it's like little plastic thigh pads because, they slow me down. I'm big enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was a guy at Auburn. You said Auburn. It made me think of James Willis. He looked like Darth Vader because he wore the mask. That guy had shoulder pads that would, go through the roof here. I mean, I think they were as high as his helmet. It was just.
It reminds me of Barry Bonds with the suit of armor up at the plate.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, pitch me inside all you want to because all you can do is, drop it off a piece of iron. I'm going to first base.
Well, I used to love when they would intentionally walk him. It'd take him 20 seconds to take off all of his pieces before he went down to first.
And the funny thing is, I mean, tonight I get to see the Braves, who I've dubbed them the Buckhead Bombers. I don't know why nobody's patented that name, but I was watching their highlights last night. I didn't see much of that stuff on them at all.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought about it until you just said that.
I mean, Matt Olson and Austin Riley aren't big on that, but I mean, I don't know. Then I would think about Ronald Acuna.
I would say as compared to the rest of the league.
Well,
yeah.
Let's face it, Acuna, how many times did the Marlins hit him?
that makes sense.
I'd wear that too. I got to put a force field over me.
Oh, we're more or less talking about equipment when batting and not the oven mitts on first base and stuff. Yeah. Would you guys think you would wear those oven mitts like on first base? I don't think I would. And I was a kid growing up, like Under Armour had just became a thing, and all, so like everybody needed the sleeves or whatever. So it's hard to put myself in the perspective of a kid again, like in that stance. But I just don't see how wearing an oven mitt, not the protective side of it, but how that is cool. And then again, these kids are watching major leaguers though, so it is cool.
Well, I think it's just got that. I think it's got that piece of metal that keeps you from jamming your fingers. Yeah. But when I was in Little League, when I started, we didn't have batting helmets. We had those little things. If you ever watched the Sandlot, the little thing that just went around your ears.
Yeah.
That's all we had. And when we had to wear batting helmets, we complained. It's like, I don't need this.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, how times have changed. Hey, Steve, we're out of time. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Sounds good. And Brian, look for your name online.
Usually I try and avoid that, but this time I'll look forward to it. Thank you, brother.
That's Steve Barnes, senior writer for the RebelWalk.com. Coming up next, the owner of PCB Hobby joins us as he does every Monday right here at 5:20. It's Todd Mueller. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
Only 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida could bring sports fans like you an app this powerful. The sports content you crave is always on. Live stream us everywhere you go. Now with upgraded programming and live game schedules, you'll always know when the Atlanta Braves and your favorite games are playing. Plus, interact with our local hosts in real time and so much more. The new app for the sports fanatic is available at the Apple Store and Google Play. From 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here's your weather forecast on this Monday evening. As we head into tonight, mostly clear skies and a low of 82 with a calm wind out of the west around 3 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, mostly sunshine and a temp near 90. In the afternoon and evening, mostly sunny and a high around 92. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Young Cycle across from FedEx Mosley Drive in Lynn Haven has a fantastic selection of pre-owned Harleys at great prices. Great prices. Don't buy a Harley until you stop by Young Cycle. Young Cycle, a full service department is available too, offering motor trike conversions, parts, and accessories. Nothing compares to Harley-Davidson and the low prices on pre-owned Harleys at Young Cycle. Young Cycle, 112 Mosley Drive across from FedEx in Lynn Haven.
Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We're live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida. About 20 minutes until we get to the blast at Bay Point. Just when you hear the cue to call, be caller number 10, calling 850-215-6290. We'll play a little high-low with you. But now, we've got Todd Mueller in the building with us, owner of PCB Hobby. How's it going, Todd?
It's going good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday.
We are here, ready to rock. We got all kinds of information for you guys today, and we're just happy to be here. It's the end of the month, end of July, and looks like the traffic may be slowing down a little bit out there.
Don't jinx it.
I know. Let's hope not.
Well,
right?
I mean, but if
I want it there.
Yeah, I was about to say, if the traffic's sticking around, PCB Hobby's doing better.
That's right. Exactly. We got all kinds of stuff going on. It's, of course, going to be the first of the month tomorrow. Wanted to do a little bit of a shout out to the coin people. We had an extraordinary month on our Whatnot feed for July, and so I'm super excited about that.
How are the people liking Stacking and Clacking?
They love him. Brian is doing a good job. Everyone's really adjusting to him being able to be on there and do a lot of the streaming, so that's pretty cool. We're pretty excited about that. So anyway, so we're pretty happy about that. Next week, we're going to be gone at the Pittsburgh Coin Show. Myself and Kate are going up there, and we're pretty excited. We're going to do a lot of buying and seeing a lot of cool numismatics. So I just wanted to put a little shout out there for the coin side of things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Other than that, we do actually have a lot going on. There's going to be a lot coming out in August and, of course, beginning in September. A lot of TCG stuff is coming out very soon, and we're super excited about that. I think one of the most exciting things that's happening is if you guys will tune in tomorrow to Channel 7 News starting at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. They will be on location at PCB Hobby, and we are going to be talking about International Trading Card Day. Topps is deemed an International Trading Card Day August 5th. Mm-hmm. August 5th, that's this Saturday. And what's going to happen is we will have International Trading Card Day packs. We will also have, if you purchase X amount or above, I believe it's $10 or above in the shop, you will also get a free Mike Trout card.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. And then next weekend, you'll get a free, I think, Adley Rushman, I believe.
Nice.
I think. Yeah, nice. Don't quote me on the second one, but I know I can look it up real quick. But anyways, the first one's definitely Mike Trout. So this Saturday, spend over $10, get a free Mike Trout card, and just showing up will get you a free International Trading Card Day pack. Yeah. And so we'll be talking about that on the news tomorrow morning, so we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Absolutely. So we'll be there representing.
Get a Trout card.
Absolutely. They sent us a couple T-shirts, so we'll be sporting that. And of course, I'll have my PCB Hobby shirt on, and should be on the news, and you guys will catch me live. So check us out. Super excited. As far as sports cards going on right now, it has been extremely busy. We started this again back in April of last year. So what's that, roughly 15 months, 16 months now. since we just got through July, and we've had our best month ever in sports cards.
Oh, wow. Let's go.
So we're super excited about that. We've been busy. A lot of people coming in, a lot of people trading stuff in, a lot of people selling us stuff, and of course a lot of people buying stuff. We got a lot of great stocked products in right now. I'm actually going to turn it over to Brian real quick and just have him talk about a couple of them that are our newest ones.
Well, the big one is out. Topps Chrome has hit. It actually came out on Wednesday. While I was out of town, of course. Yes. But Topps Chrome is kind of the... I would call it the Cadillac of baseball cards. Like, it may not always be the most expensive and all, but it's like the standard.
Right.
And so Topps Chrome is out, and it is a loaded set this year. Tons of great rookies. If you're a Braves fan, Michael Harris rookies in there, Von Grissom rookies in there. Of course, Adley Rutschman for the Orioles and guys like that. Jordan Walker, Volpe, all these guys are in there. So it's a great set, looks beautiful this year, and it's been selling like crazy. On the basketball side, we're still kind of getting caught up on the 22-23 products, so they're coming out select, still big on that. And, of course, everybody's hunting for Victor Wembanyama, so he's in the Bowman products that we have right now, and they're selling great. And then just Friday, it came out, Legacy Football. It's the first technical pro set for the 2023 year.
And we do have boxes of those coming.
And I think we have one in and more on the way.
On the way. Nice.
But Legacy is out. It does have some of the draft picks. Now, because it's so new, they're not in their pro uni yet.
Right.
But Legacy Football is out. So a lot of those, that'll be their first pro card for their new teams. And so the Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson fans will now have, cards out in a pro set with these players. So definitely a lot going on. Baseball's really going to start heating up. Prism is out, and it's actually a wonderful set this year. Panini is a little bit different than Topps in that they don't have the active player's license. But because Ellie De La Cruz started the year as a prospect, he's in the Panini product. A lot of the old-time vets do big cards, like Ken Griffey Jr. does stuff with Panini Prism. That's out and has been great. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of cool products out. There's a lot that are going to be coming out here very soon, but it's hard to beat the excitement of when Topps Chrome drops, and it did not disappoint this year at all.
Yeah, not at all. And in fact, we actually have a case of each coming.
Excellent.
So we have a case of each of the Bowman, the Jumbo, and of the regular Hobby on its way. It probably,
and there is some Hobby currently in the shop. And the Jumbo's sold out. They'll be replaced.
Right?
Yeah.
I did want to reiterate back to Adley Rutschman. Yes, it is an Adley Rutschman card.
Excellent.
On the 12th. On the 12th, if you come in, specifically if we have any more packs left, you'll get an International Trading Day pack and a free Adley Rutschman card on the 12th if you spend $10.
Well, and that's also PCST Trade Day.
Right.
Or PCST. I'm still my own swim team. PCB Hobby Trade Day.
It is. What is it?
So I was doing swimming all last week. My brain is fried. It's over.
So that is true. So next weekend is our PCB sports card and TCG trade day, which obviously we'll talk about it on Monday again. That is coming up. But we'll also reiterate that you can get the Adley Rutschman card and potentially, if we have any left, the International Trading Card Day packs. Again, looking for you to spend $10 or more. It's pretty low cost to get a really cool card that they're only handing out for this event.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome.
Technically, not necessarily a one of one, but it's not a mass-produced card.
It's a Type 1 card, or what we call a type card. So
Okay.
it's the only one that will be out there, and the only way you could have gotten it was to go to your hobby shop.
Gotcha.
It's not, you can't buy it in Walmart. You can't get it in a pack. You can't. It's the only way it's acquired. It doesn't mean that there's very few of them. It just means that's the only way it's going to.
Right, and it's really it's like going to a baseball game and getting a bobblehead.
Exactly.
Like you're
Same
only
thing.
going to be able
You're going to be able to
to
get it there at that time, even though they hand out 70,000 of them.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the
it's
fact
still
that matters,
cool.
It's the only way you're going to get it. So, anyway, so that's pretty exciting. Like Brian said, there's a lot of products coming out. Of course, I did not do much talking about TCGs for today, and I didn't figure out, but we do have a bunch releasing. I'm pretty sure there's some Commander Masters Magic the Gathering cards going to be coming out soon, and Obsidian Flames is going to be coming out soon. Now remember, we are play stores for both of them, for Magic and for Pokemon, which means, so everybody understands, that we get to do pre-release. Pre-release is when we get to sell and offer the product a week to 2 weeks in advance. So I want everybody to understand that if you know the product's coming out soon, check us out, especially check our website, because you may have a chance to get it earlier than finding it in a Walmart or finding it in a Target or really anywhere else who's not a Play Store. Of course, we can't go any day without mentioning Lorcana. Lorcana's coming up. So we're pretty excited about that. We will have some inventory on pre-release. So check us out. Come in, take a look. We do want people to learn how to play. We will have plenty of decks. Plenty of theme decks. So come in, buy one. They're not going to be that expensive. I want to say they're $25-$30. And it's a deck, and you can play with it. And you'll get a couple special cards in there as well. And I want to say it even comes with a pack that you get to open. So if you are into the pack opening thing, even buying a deck, you will be able to get that type of stuff. So it's pretty exciting, and we're really happy about the new products coming out.
So with things like TCGs, with Lorcana coming up, Pokemon, all of that stuff, at what point do you decide, like, this is one that I need to, have in a sleeve or whatever? Do most people, is that how they're carried around these days?
So a lot of people may not know this, and this is not some sort of hidden site. It's called TCGplayer.com.
Gotcha.
And anybody can go to TCGplayer.com and look up their card. Look, be real, that's not what we're going to pay for the card if you come in and sell it to us.
You're a business.
But the fact of the matter is that you can get some formulation of pricing on a card. I happened to open a pack of cards today that we had laying around, and we looked it up, and I hit a $50 card. And again, how did we know that value? It's not because there's some book out there. It's because we go to TCG Player and see how many times it's sold and what the average sale price is.
Gotcha.
That's typically what you see in the industry. So if you've never priced your collection, do the work, price your collection out, go to TCG Player, get your information, understand what you have, and then realize we're going to pay X% of those values to buy your collection if you want to sell it. It's pretty simple.
And what's the equivalent of that? Like when I was growing up, it was Beckett and the book of Beckett,
right.
not the
so
online.
There is not a book out there. It's really these sites. eBay and TCG Player are the market.
Gotcha.
They are the market.
Gotcha.
It's as simple as that.
Great stuff. Answers my question.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing I wanted to add, we were talking about all the new product that's come in, but we actually, because been so bombarded, and we've sold so many singles this month. I mean, just, high-end, mid-tier, low-end singles. Just
everything.
A lot of good singles. We actually were able to acquire in the last week a lot of great new singles. And if I could ever not be out of town or on the radio, I could actually get to processing all these new singles and get them out for you. So this week, a lot of those new singles are going out, and in every sport, in fact, across wrestling, UFC, golf, there's new stuff. Some really cool high-end autos and low-numbered stuff.
If anybody wants the best player in baseball, which I believe is Ohtani,
ton of Shohei.
Ton of rookies.
Yeah.
If you need a Shohei Ohtani rookie, you better come in because they're not going to last.
Right. A lot of new LA stuff. A lot of new football. A lot of the newer class finally is getting sold back. So the Kenny Pickett's and Sauce Gardner's, George Pickens, guys like that have all been coming through. So there's a lot of new singles coming. It's just, I got to get in there and get them processed. But this week, they're going to be rolling out all week. I got through about a couple hundred of them today.
Saturday should be the crescendo. Everybody should show up Saturday. And for real, I expect 150 of you guys to show up. So if you're listening to the radio right now and you hear me right now, you better be there Saturday to get your free pack.
$10 too?
And then if you buy $10, you get a free Mike Trout card. So look, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're going to pick up free stuff, and then you spend $10, and then you get a type card, a type card, and I think that's really cool. And then and it's the same situation a week from August 5th, which will be the 12th, and that case
trade day as well,
and trade day. So not only can you
can bring your stuff in, you can trade, you can buy, you can sell some stuff. Again, it's for both Pokemon and sports cards. I also wanted to bring up the last thing on my list was about comics. We have started to order a lot more comics, and we are actually starting to send off to get graded a lot more comics. So we're really working diligently to try to fulfill or fill in that inventory. So if you're looking for new comics, we're probably going to start carrying pretty much everything new. And on top of it, we're going to have graded examples shortly after they come out. So we're excited about that too. So look for the expansion of the comic side of things. We're going to have a lot of backstock, and we're going to work diligently to make that happen. Number two, we're also going to work diligently to keep adding products to our website. So if you haven't checked out our website yet, www.pcbhobby.com. Bookmark it. Please do. Go check it out. Even if you don't buy anything today, keep checking back. We are going to keep adding stuff. Remember, we have our schedule on there of events. That's always important to check out, especially on pre-release parties and things like that are going to go down. So check on that stuff. And finally, you guys need to be checking our social media out. The most important one is at PCB Hobby. Check us out on Instagram. We've now been able to stream live from Whatnot in multicast or simulcast, they call it, to YouTube and Facebook Live.
That's how I saw. I was watching Stacking and Clacking the other day do that.
You can go. So if you're not interested in purchasing anything, you're not interested in being the bidding fest and watching it on Whatnot, just go to our YouTube, PCB Hobby. Watch our videos. Watch our live content. It's cool. At least it's something to do and something to watch.
Well,
you
you also learn as well.
You learn.
Especially about the coin side of things.
Absolutely, 100%. And, video-wise, you can hear our sound. You hear us talk about the coins. You hear what's going on. You understand how it works. Again, even if you don't want to download the Whatnot app, but you're an avid YouTuber or Facebook Live person, check us out. It's a lot of fun, and it's just neat to watch. We cut up. We do all kinds of craziness. The explicit is on, just so you know, so don't send your kid out there. So there's probably a few words that you don't want him to hear. But ultimately, it's a lot of fun, and it's really neat. So you guys need to check that out. Of course, on social media, we have our other IDs as well. But check us out, PCB Hobby, YouTube. We're on Twitter, the new Twitter, whatever you call that, I forget.
X, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, and the Threads.
And then Threads, right?
Threads.
We're on that.
Yes.
We're on, I said Instagram already. We're on TikTok. And I already said YouTube, and of course Facebook. So check us out on all those as well. And again, we have other IDs. We have our coin ID, we have our sports card ID, and all those. You can always check those out for pointed information, like if you want to know and hear just about coins.
We got about a minute and a half until we get to the blast at Bay Point. Which of the game nights that's out there at PCB Hobby? You got Yu-Gi-Oh on Tuesdays, Pokemon on Wednesdays, Commander Master release event coming up this
Friday.
This
okay,
Friday.
There you go. So this Friday is Commander pre-release, right?
And I know that by just looking at PCBHobby.com.
So I'm telling you, if I was smart, I would have looked at that before I walked in the studio. But I'm not. So there you go.
The Vanguard group has been big too, and I personally don't know what Vanguard is.
That's
but it's been big.
It's a card game.
My question was, which one has maybe piqued your interest? Where it's one day I'm gonna I'm sure that you know about them, but you're I'm gonna get even better at this particular TCG.
Well, I think Magic is probably the one that pretty much anybody in the shop, even and all the people who we employ, I think have a little bit of knowledge and or want to know something about Magic the Gathering.
Right. That is awesome.
I think that would be considered the best thing. So there you go. It's been a great week last week, and we're gonna have another wonderful week this week before we leave for the show.
Hear how he does that? It was a great week last week. Who was gone last week?
You were, Brian.
There's a common denominator, buddy. You are.
That's why I can only hope that this week's going to be good.
We can only
I get no respect.
The Master of Disaster is back.
The Master of Disaster is back. Make sure that you're getting down there to PCB Hobby this Saturday, August 5th. And then also check out the news tomorrow, Channel 7 from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. You'll see PCB Hobby's very own Todd Mueller there. And they're going to be there at PCB Hobby.
Absolutely.
So you'll see them all.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, absolutely. That's Todd Mueller. This has been PCB Hobby segment. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, it's time to play a little high-low for the blast at Bay Point. Give us a call, 850-215-6290. Caller number 10 will be on when we return.
ESPN, Northwest Florida.
The tradition continues.
That ball is going to be out of here. The Atlanta Braves play here.
Bombs away.
The Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Head first slide, 2 RBI triple.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Bestway Portable Buildings, Dave and Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they serve delicious gastropub style food? Check out the break room's daily $12 lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf and mashed potatoes, chicken pot pie, hamburger steak with gravy and more. All specials come with side and dessert. The Break Room, Joan Avenue and North Lagoon in Panama City Beach. Dine in or call the Break Room now. 850-588-8310. 850-588-8310.
Take your next adventure in an eco-friendly, all-electric Kia EV6 that gives you the movement that inspires. You can live fully charged while saving now and down the road on fuel costs. Schedule a test drive today and explore the electrified Kia vehicles at Billboard Kia. You have to drive it to believe it. Now offering $7,500 EV lease bonus when you lease a new 2023 Kia EV6 Wind Electric all-wheel drive for 36 months. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology with a performance that minimizes the impact of our environment. Billboard Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. See us today at 2435 East 15th Street or BillboardKiaPanamaCity.com. We make it easy to switch to EV ownership and give you the peace of mind you can trust. Close-in lease based on a new 2023 Kia EV6 model number N5452. No security deposit required. $7,500 EV lease bonus not available for cash. Subject to credit approval, dealer participation, and vehicle availability. $49.99 due at signing for well-qualified leases. See dealer for complete details. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Billboard Kia warranty. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 9/5/23.
It moves fast.
Let's go.
The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back as the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, and we're playing the Blast at Bay Point. And we've got Bobby on the line to answer this question, playing high-low. Earthworks sold how many bags of mulch Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon? What do you got for us, Bobby?
I'm going with 53.
That is...
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Bobby, go pick me some lottery numbers.
About time.
Daggum, son. I was like, what in the world is going on? He did not just say the correct answer on the third guess of the day today, and it's our final time playing the Blast at Bay Point this week, and we knocked it off the board very early. What in the world made you pick 53, Bobby?
Well, it was only a 3-hour span.
Yeah.
That seemed like a lot to sell, so I figured, and it was below 67, so I just went low.
And you went right on the daggum money. All right, so I'm free on Saturdays and Sundays. What kind of a tea? I know we have to have our tea time after 10 a.m., so just, you book the tea time and tell me when to be there, and I'll see you there.
All right, buddy.
All right. Hey, Bobby, though, for real, congratulations to you, man. Hang on the line real quick, and Bone Crusher's going to get the rest of the information that he needs from you. And congratulations. Enjoy that round of golf with you and a guest.
Will do. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. That is great stuff.
That's awesome.
Dude, I'm dumbfounded over here. Like,
I was sitting there thinking, did we push the wrong button?
Yeah.
That sounds like the winning bell.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Wow, man, we didn't even make it through a full day. Just one day. So we'll have a new number for you guys next Monday. I guess that makes Coach James Hales, or Coach Hales, Ryan, and my job a little bit easier, but not as much fun, though, because it is a lot of fun playing this high-low and just, having someone guess, and then you get to kind of play into all of that stuff. But yeah, man, great stuff there from Bobby, our big winner for the Blast at Bay Point. Last week it was Lynn Haven Robb. The week before that, Coach Olds. I know that I can't remember all of them, but it's been a lot of fun. And a big shout out to Ryan Mulvey and Bay Point Golf Club for putting this on for us. And I know we've got another pretty big contest coming up here shortly, but I will wait till Bone Crusher and Randy give us the okay to start diving into that room. 850-215-6290 is the number to call or text this afternoon if you have any topics you'd like to hop into. Brian and I always like to get into those random rabbit holes.
Well, and even if we don't know it, we'll just pretend.
Yeah, exactly. Like, was it? No, it was like 2 Fridays ago. Someone calls in and they're like, so, you guys have been talking about a few of the SEC teams. What can you tell me about Missouri and how they're going to look in 2023? I'm like, I go look up the depth chart and everything. Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm not recognizing a lot of names from last year. I said, I'll tell you around week 3 or week 4 of the season. Let me watch a little bit of them. And then I just tried to stammer my way through the rest of it because, Missouri is one of those squads that they never get the preseason hype, but then somehow, some way, maybe it's just because of the way that the SEC has the tendency to beat up on each other sometimes, but they find themselves in good position. Almost took down Georgia last year.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play, and, they've got a lot of pride. They always have. Drake does a good job up there. I mean, in general, they haven't had the best record last year, but, they recruited some good talent. I mean, the wide receiver that they got was the number one guy in the number one wide receiver in the country. Luther Burden, I want to say was his name. And they've had great players that have come through there. It's usually just a matter of having enough depth. But a lot of people forget that back in the mid to late 2000s, back when they were in the Big 12, they were at number 1 for a while, like when Chase Daniel was a quarterback there. So they've got a football history that maybe a lot of people don't know, but they know.
Yeah.
And they're always a tough out. I think their first 2 years in the SEC, they won the East, if I'm not mistaken.
I know they did the very first year.
Yeah,
and I mean, you mentioned Chase Daniel. How about a Blaine Gabbert? I mean,
absolutely.
They've had some guys come through there, and you can never get that misconstrued. But it is going to be something for me, at least with Missouri in 2023, is I'll pump the brakes on any type of a real preview. I'm going to do a little bit more study on them as far as when we give our SEC prediction and preview and all of that good stuff. Johnny Yankee says, how about them fights? Did you have an opportunity? I know you were busy UFC 291, or did you even get to check out the Crawford Spence?
I really didn't. I was more hoping that the 48 kids that I was kind of shepherding didn't get in any fights of their own.
Yeah, you would have
or burn the hotel to the ground or whatever.
UFC 365.
No, unfortunately, I did not. I did see some of the results, but I wasn't able to get to see any of them.
Johnny Yankee, I think you'd be happy with me, man. Listen, I watched every single minute of the actual fights while they were live and everything. I didn't watch, a whole bunch of the, how they do after one of the fight ends and they kind of start hyping up the other fights. I didn't watch much of that, but it was a great card. And to take it a step further, I watched it all on my phone.
Wow.
Yeah, I sat there and just watched it on my phone because I didn't feel like getting up and streaming it to the TV or whatnot. So I was like, whatever. There was actually, no, I take that back. When I started out on it, I had it hooked up to the HDMI on my TV and then just ended up getting into the bed and watching it from my phone.
What you just said is why I believe that Pixar movie WALL-E was a documentary.
Yeah, right.
I think we're all headed there.
I mean, why not?
We're all going to be fat in our floaty chairs.
Yeah.
I'm going to love it. I got the fat part covered.
You got the fat part covered.
Yeah.
No, it was a great card, no doubt, getting it started. I mean, I think the first 3 matches all ended in submissions.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you had Tony Ferguson go down to Perry was the guy's last name. You had Kevin Holland win the first against Chiesa. And then in the third bout, I think that was Blachowicz was the fourth bout on Pierre. Took him down. And then the final was Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. The first round was great. It's like, oh man, because this was for the BMF. And the first round's like, man, if this goes all 5, both these guys are going to be bloody as all get out. It's going to be a war. This is exactly what you tuned in for, all that good stuff. Second round, not too long in, Gaethje hits him with a right straight and then follows that up with a right head kick, and you just saw Dustin Poirier just fall out, and it was like, wow, man. I mean, you know how those reactions are every time from Rogan and the gang, and how great their broadcast team is. But yeah, it was a great card, and I was glad that I watched that one. Not the prelims. I didn't watch any of the prelims, but watched the main card from beginning to end. And I really forget all the time about how good of a fighter Kevin Holland is, I know which one I'm forgetting. Derek Lewis, big heavyweight fella. I can't even remember who his opponent was. It was some dude from Brazil, and it was like a 20-second fight. Like, he just rushed him, hit him with a knee, and then that was pretty much all she wrote. Like, dude had to cover up. And then when it comes to Blachowicz and Pereira, Blachowicz was, he says he won the fight, which any fighter will say that it did come to a decision, but at the end of the day, Blachowicz was gassed after round 1. So it made a lot of sense that Pierre won that. Johnny Yankee Seed, if I'm wrong on any of that, just correct me, man, and we'll bring it up tomorrow. Or you can call in at 850-215-6290. He said he definitely. I was trying to read one of these comments, like, wait, I'm not understanding that, and then I'm just reading it wrong. He definitely didn't win. He was talking about Blachowicz. All right, so we were talking earlier. Is there anything else you wanted to get on with SummerSlam? Is there anything?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I'm very interested because it's kind of seen as their number 2 promotion of the year, basically behind WrestleMania, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. I think there's got the opportunity to be some great matches. There's not a lot of matches that have this long brewing storyline that this is the big payoff for. So it's a show that has a little mystery to it, which is why I said I thought there'd be some returns or surprises. So it could end up. They've really hit it with SummerSlam the last couple of years. So I expect big things from them this weekend.
This is your local segment brought to you by Barbaritos. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them that the Underdog sent you. Barbaritos, food, community, people. Got a couple of stories to get to. I'm going to hold 2 of them until tomorrow. But second year Junior League here for the APA Junior Championships is for kids between the ages of 7 and 17. And they are on their way to doing great things. You've got 8-year-old Chandler Keller, 11-year-old Braden Philbrook, and teens Javen Richardson and Sebastian Bernal, who are going to be headed to, I believe, Las Vegas. They competed against 259 other players. Chandler and Braden finished 33rd in their respective brackets. Javen finished 5th, and Sebastian won the title in his age group. This is for kids from 7 to 17. Just goes to show you how good our sports are in general in this community, because Holmes County rising junior Savannah Goodman, she's established herself as one of the top amateur golfers in the Southeast, and she just qualified for the Junior PGA Championship. In her first 2 high school seasons, Goodman qualified for the FHSAA State Championship meet twice and took first place in regionals as a sophomore. Her most recent competition was at the Azalea City Golf Course in Mobile, Alabama.
Know that course well.
Oh, yeah? What's your best round there?
They're 76, maybe.
Maybe a little topic for high-low next week there, Bone Crusher. But she played in the Northwest Florida Alabama Junior PGA Championship qualifier, and she had a good game plan, and it did work. She took first place in the tournament. She shot 141 in 2 rounds, finishing 3 under par, which is very impressive.
A lot better than me.
Yeah, well, it made her one of 156 girls from all over the states and even some international golfers to qualify. Many of those are All-American high school seniors committed to the top colleges. Goodman departs for Hot Springs on Saturday, July 29th. She'll begin practice rounds Sunday and Monday, or yesterday and today. The opening round for the Junior PGA Championship starts tomorrow, and that is from WMBB, Sam Granville. A great article there from him. Now, one of the things that we were talking about earlier, I believe opening up the show today, or not opening up the show, finishing our opening segment today is, do you think with youth athletes, like what are some sports that they're watching and not necessarily taking things from the professional athlete that are aesthetically pleasing but more mechanically, like with golf, right? You mentioned Jim Furyk.
Well,
like, you don't want to replicate that swing.
Well, not necessarily, but here's the thing that people get caught up on. So Jim Furyk's swing in golf is famously unorthodox. But at the end of the day, where the club is at impact, and Jay and Ryan could talk about this way better than me, but where the club is at impact is what matters.
Kick point, I'm just guessing.
Now, if you're teaching, so for example, Jay teaches.
Yeah.
Jay would not teach someone to get to contact via that because it's not an easily repeatable motion.
Right.
There's an easier motion to repeat to get to that consistently. But the true thing is getting to impact square. Swimming coaches will do the same thing. At the point of contact on the water, you want to be in X position. How you get there is less important, but there is a more easily repeatable motion to get there, and that's what we teach. We try and make it something that's easier to repeat. But Janet Evans was famously one of the best swimmers in the world. You wouldn't have ever taught over the water getting to contact the way that she did. But she did it. So we had a lot of kids try it, and it didn't work very well for them. So you have to be a little careful with that kind of stuff. But again, I think sometimes the analogy I always gave people is if you're going up the stairs, the goal is to get to the second floor. It's not to touch every single step along the way. So,
unless you have OCD, then maybe.
Well, exactly. I mean, there's sometimes you have to take a few steps on the same step, and there's a few times you skip.
Right.
So, but sometimes we get caught up in the journey more than remembering where the goal is. And so that's what I mean. The goal is to be square at impact in golf. There's an easier way to get to that point, but it doesn't mean it's the only way.
Right.
So you focus on what's key, and then you find the easiest way for that athlete to get to that point consistently and something they can repeat, and you've done a good job preparing them.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Former Bay High basketball coach Rusty Cook would rather have his players watching division, or not even division, just women's college basketball.
Significantly better fundamentals.
Exactly. And so there's certain, you can watch these guys and think that's, the way to do it. And I mean, to an extent, but everyone's different first and foremost. And you don't get to the pinnacle of these leagues without, or just because they can do it doesn't mean you can do it. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. Sometimes the Lord blesses you to do things the wrong way, but it works out perfectly for your body.
And there are people who are quadruple jointed and stuff. I mean, it's so...
Oh, my gosh.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. But
we'll save that for next week.
We'll save it for next week. Coach Jay's Hell Show is going to be live at 7 a.m., followed by the Inside Drive. Your Braves are coming up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents The Blast at Bay Point. Listen to Win Your Tee Time at the legendary Bay Point Golf Club in beautiful Panama City Beach.
You ready to play some high-low?
I'm going to try.
Listen weekdays at 8:40, 12:40, and 5:40 to play high-low for a chance to win 18 holes at Bay Point Golf Club.